Why is being LGBTQ treated as a mortal sin? Why is Christianity so sex negative? Is it possible to be Christian and still think a lot of the Bible is vile? What if gay and transgender people? Baby, welcome, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jada B, and this is Backseat Bible. You know how you have those backseat drivers that are always giving you unsolicited advice? Well, you're gonna want to take mine. Why? Because it's coming straight from the Bible. And in today's episode, I really felt led to kind of rummage through Reddit a little bit, go through Reddit and looking at just different questions that people have had about Christianity and their different perspectives. And I think I picked some pretty good questions. I think I picked some spicy questions. I'm super excited. We're gonna jump right into today's video. Let's go. So one of the first questions I have that I think is going to set the tone for this episode is, do you feel like you would behave differently or make different moral choices if you didn't believe in the ultimate reward or punishment after your death? I'm going to be so real. Yes, absolutely I would. And I think people immediately do the cop out of
like, oh, so you need this higher power to tell you how to be a good person?
It's not about being a good person. For me, it's the fact that I understand my sinful nature, the parts of me that I had to genuinely surrender to God, which is being prideful, lustful, arrogant, controlling. And I know specifically it's asking about moral choices. And to me, morality also encompasses how you treat others. And for me specifically, lust being one of the biggest things I've struggled with and that I still surrender to God regularly. Whether you realize it or not, lust and objectifying another human being, because everybody always says that men objectify women. We objectify men all the time. Respectfully, we do. And so for me, making it about myself, looking at sex as a selfish act, because at the end of the day, when it is not in the confines of the beautiful thing that God gave us, which is marriage, out of protection also, mind you, when we don't allow these things to be in the parameters of which God gave it to us, out of protection, it becomes immediately selfishly led and it becomes about us. So yeah, 1,000,000%, because I understand my sinful nature. I understand my human nature is fallen and that all of us fall short of the glory of God. I recognize that I would make completely different choices if I didn't have him to lean on, because I recognize the parts of myself that are genuinely or were genuinely broken, that need a savior, that need Christ, his perfection to make me whole. So yeah, that's my answer to that. This is going to be fun. Why is being LGBTQ treated as a mortal sin by so many Christians? Aren't a lot of things sin? And I think this is a great question, because so often you see in the media for decades, not just, in recent years, for decades. It goes back so far within the church, and I'm saying church in that regard because I'm more so thinking about like Roman Catholic Church. I'm thinking about these churches that have been pushed, the white Jesuses, all those things, the mainstream Christians, and how being gay has been completely and utterly demonized when there are a lot of sins, and God does not see one as greater than the other. Regardless, all sin is equal in God's eyes. When we're having these conversations about LGBTQ+, it should simply be, and I love this because I actually seen an episode of the Dr. Daff show, and I don't know if y'all know what that is or who that is, but I love that show because there are so many thoughtful conversations from very, very educated women of God. Someone said something that I've been thinking for so long, which is, so is sexual immorality. Any form of sexual immorality, all forms of sexual immorality are sins. And sexual immorality, yes, is homosexuality, but it is also having sex outside of marriage, masturbation, adultery. Sexual immorality is an all-encompassing thing. It is not just being gay. It is so many things. So I struggle with sexual immorality as well, which I said previously, which was lust. That is something I struggle with and I had to give to God. That being said, yes, it is all bad. It is all wrong. And the same people who are in heterosexual relationships, having sex before marriage, God is deeming your sin exactly the same as the person that is in a gay relationship. It's all the same, baby. And we need to attack it all at the root, which is sexual immorality. That's what we need to attack at the root. Why are we going outside of God's original design? And God's original design is so intentional for protection, for his glory. There's so many layers to that. So yeah. Okay. I'm realizing a lot of these are about sex, and I didn't mean for that to be the case, but they were interesting questions. Why is Christianity so sex negative? It's not. What? Oh my gosh. Ta-da! Big surprise. It's really hot. That showed me that y'all really don't read the Bible, because y'all didn't read the Song of Solomon. And what's been so amazing is that Fresh Life Church, I just found them. They've been doing a sermon series on the Song of Solomon. I'll actually link it down below, you guys. It has blessed me tremendously. It talks about all things. It talks about dating, courting, waiting until marriage, the wedding night, also afterwards, and sustaining marriage. It is a beautiful breakdown of the Song of Solomon, which talks about our human desires that God gave us. God gave us sexual desires given to us in the parameters of a selfless act within the confines of a covenant, which is marriage. That is what God gave it. It is for protection. I think there's so many layers to that. Unwanted heartache, STDs, pregnancies within broken homes because there is no covenant to protect these children. There's so many layers to that. It just shows me how little people actually read the Bible, because it is the opposite of sex negative. And one of the biggest things that I noticed when I was listening to the sermon series about the Song of Solomon was, I think it's in chapter 4 or 5, you see the conversation happening back and forth between the Shulamite woman and the prince or the king or whatever, which is, we assume is Solomon. And there gets to a point, it's the wedding night. He's just doting over her. He's telling her all the things. And they finally go to lay with one another. And once they do, the dialogue breaks from it just being between them two. And mind you, they are alone together in their home, consecrating the marriage, if you will. And you see this random break come in. I'm going to put on the screen chapter 5, verse 1. You see it break, and it says friends, and it says eat, friends, and drink your fill of love. And I actually would like to read it in another version as well. This is in the ERV. Dearest friends, eat, drink, be drunk with love. So again, who is talking? What's going on? This is an intimate moment between them two. Who is this person saying, dearest friends, eat, drink, and be filled with love? The breakdown was that this was God speaking to them, telling them, yes, enjoy, be happy, enjoy this moment, because it's literally an act of worship. Doing it in the way that God calls us to, it allows us to enjoy the sexuality that He's given us in such a beautiful manner that is an offering unto Him, an act of worship to God. And it is so beautiful and amazing. And it made me I started crying when I found out that it was God speaking to them. I literally started crying because I'm like, He is so sweet and He is so good that He literally is like, yes, enjoy, have a good time. And maybe that's too much for other people. I don't care. I love it because, again, He made it. He made sex. He made sex to be enjoyed, and He made it to be enjoyed in a way that is worship unto Him and glorifying unto Him and as an offering unto Him. And how amazing is that we have this God that was way ahead of way ahead of the game. It was like, be merry, drink, be filled with love, all the things, get down, because I gave it to you to be getting down with. So I see it as a total opposite of being sex negative. God is extremely sex positive under His order and rule. Okay? All right. Next question. Is it possible to be a Christian and still think a lot of the Bible is vile? Now, this goes down to, genuinely, if I'm being so honest, this goes down to the deepest core, which is whether or not they know God's heart and God's character. We can be, as human beings, we pump ourselves up. We are so haughty. We are so arrogant. We are so egotistical that we think that we are such these great beings that don't deserve to be here, don't deserve anything. We truly do not deserve anything. But we have such a good God who loves us in spite of those things that He still sent His Son. But before I digress, my whole point is that we are undeserving. I'm not reading the full breakdown because it would take forever, but I'll read a little bit of what they're saying. I used to be a faithful Christian, Bengal wearing, Hillsong listening, Jesus freak. I'll never understand that term, whatever, okay. And this was actually why I stopped believing. In this phase of life, I read a lot of the Bible, practically cover to cover. Previously, I would only read the nice passages. The more I read, however, the more passages I found completely incompatible with what I believe and I've been taught. Things like God sending venomous snakes instead of helping people who were starving because He sent them into a desert for 40 years doing a 9-day walk. I'm not going to list everything. You get the idea. I'm asking this question because I was really, really happy when I believed there was something that filled me, but I can't unread what I've read. I feel like I miss it, but can't go back. Any advice, anyone else who has felt this way? I think the Bible sucks, but I miss being a Christian. Fascinating, truly, because there's so many layers to that. Even what they literally said, which was, oh, there are parts that I like, but then the parts that I didn't like made me just want to walk away. That's the whole point. Understanding the Bible fully is going to require a heart change, a perspective change and an understanding of God's character. I think those are like the main pillars of what the Bible stands for: a heart change, a mind change, and understanding God's character. Also understanding our fallen nature. Again, he is a perfect God. Anything outside of that, anything that is unjust, anything that he deems as less than, he has every single right, because he created it, to destroy it. Like, everything is up to him. We have no say. And we get so, like I said, haughty and just so full of ourselves that we think, well, how dare he want to kill us? How dare he allow women and children to be killed? When you read certain stories of the Old Testament, and majority of the time, idol worshiping, unbelieving, trifling. Like, if you really want to get into it, we could talk about the reason why God sent the flood back in Noah. It was because of the way that people were living in such an evil, wicked way. The simple fact of the matter is, no matter how much of a good person you believe you are, God sets the standard of good. One of the things I love hearing is when, I think his name is Cliff. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but when he always says, like, okay, well, we can say Hitler thought he was doing a good thing. Because at the end of the day, us as human beings, we can't determine right or wrong according to our own biases. Everybody could say something was right. Everyone could be like, well, I believe I'm doing a good thing. And it could be absolutely terrible. How do we know it's terrible? We base it upon the moral compass of the Bible and what God deems as good or bad. That being said, though, yeah, going into this without the fullest understanding of God being just in his choices and his decisions, us being undeserving. I remember what it was like when one of my best friends came to move in with me. And she really struggled with the God of the Old Testament. And I love the God of the Old Testament because I recognized how unworthy those Israelites were. Let's be so for real. God presented himself so many times to the Israelites, and they still chose disobedience. So it's funny because we see here the person bringing up the 40 days when it should have been a 9-day walk. That was their fault. That was not God's intention. That was their fault. That was their fault. It being 40 years and taking that long was never what God wanted for them. But they also had to truly show whether or not they believed God, they trusted God, and he provided in every single way. And they complained and they groaned. When Abraham went up on the mountain, I say Abraham, y'all, Moses. When Moses went up on a mountain and they made that golden calf and they began to worship it because he was taking too long, over and over and over again, we think we know best. We think we can deem what is best for us. And we often, 9 times out of 10, regularly choose our own understanding and our own way and our own will over the will of God. So quickly. He literally parted the Red Sea in front of them, showed them his absolute, complete, and utter power. And Moses goes up on that mountain to get them 10 commandments, and they're like, oh, he takes too long. We about to just go ahead and make our own God. What? That's my point. Like, I love the Old Testament, y'all. I love it down because it shows you the flaw of humanity and why we needed Jesus Christ, because we will never, ever, ever meet the standard. We will never meet the standard. It is by grace through faith alone that we have the gift of salvation. That's it. We will never, ever, ever, ever measure up. That is just the truth, the reality of the situation. So yeah, that is my answer to that question. So actually, I guess I didn't really answer the question. Is it possible to be a Christian, still think a lot of the Bible is vile? You can give yourself the label of Christianity. You can say, oh, I'm a Christian. But if you genuinely believe the Bible is vile, that's an intense word. If you believe that the Bible is vile, your heart has not been changed. Your perspective has not been changed. You don't know God's character, and you don't understand the fallen nature of man and how we are extremely undeserving. So yeah. Getting to the last question. What if gay and transgender and others were put on earth by God as a test of mankind's compassion? From what I observed, many Christians, though not all, demonize those who don't fit the mold. If this was a test by God, so many are failing. I think that question is multifaceted, because I think at the end of the day, again, we are fallen human beings. We have a fallen nature, and we are quicker to fall into sin. And sin, again, is everything outside of God's standards. So when I see they don't fit the mold, it is not something that we just created as our own opinion. You're saying two conflating things, because you're saying that they don't fit the mold when we got the mold from God. And you're saying, well, God could send them as a test. It is his mold. So who exactly is he testing? So I think that question, to me, again, is multifaceted, but also conflating, because it is his standard. And we're not just making up our own opinions and like, this doesn't fit the way we like. This doesn't sound like what we think is best. No, every single opinion that, if you're genuinely following the Bible, every single opinion that we come to, every single conclusion that we come to should be scripture based Holy Spirit led, and a reflection of the righteousness of God. That's it. That's all. Our mold is the scriptures, is the Bible. And I seen a video recently of this really famous Christian influencer who sat with a woman, and she's a gay pastor, and she runs like a gay church or whatever, which that's a whole other conversation. She ended up saying like, oh, there were only 7 passages throughout the whole Bible that talks about homosexuality. She was making the claim that it's not spoken of as much as the other things. It only needs to be spoken of once. Who cares if it's not spoken of as much as these other sins? That doesn't deem its ranking. It's still a sin. It still does not fit God's mold. That is my point of all this, is that whether it's one time, whether it's a million times, whatever the case may be, if it's in there once and God has expressed his opinion and his perspective, not even opinion, his standard on that thing, that is enough. Said once is plenty. Is plenty. So anyway, to the main question here at hand, what if they are, sent as, a test of mankind's compassion? I think that's also a really good thing too, right? Thinking about the compassion aspect of dealing with people who are in sin. So when it comes to this specific genre of humans, of people that identify with these things, that's another thing. Identify, right? Where does our identity come from? If our identity is in Christ, who is he? Who does he deem himself to be? That's where our identity is. It's not in the things of the world. It's not in zodiac signs, it's not in horoscopes. It's not in the universe. It's not in crystals. It's not in all these man-made things. And people try to say that the Bible, it's not, baby. It's God-breathed, Holy Spirit inspired, used man. God used man to write it. But I digress. All that to say, understanding that compassion absolutely is always a test. When we see Jesus confronting sin throughout the Bible, he still does it in a way that is filled with love. And I love the scriptures that say, if you literally don't have love, you don't have anything. You can be able to speak in tongues. You can have all these things, but if you don't have love at the core, and not love in a way that is passive, in a way that's like, oh, I'll still accept, it's okay. It's not okay because God said it wasn't. How do we deal with this? In a way that's with humility, understanding, and compassion, also meeting them in a space where it's like, hey, I'm a sinner too. And this is how God transformed my life and my heart in a way that is submissive to him. That's literally what we have to do. That's what we are called to do. So it is a test of compassion in the sense of, can you compassionately share the gospel with those who don't understand how we as humans do not fit the mold of Christ and how much we desperately need him? Because he is the mold, he is the standard. So yeah, I think that's it for today. I think this is a good video. I'm very happy. Thank y'all so much for watching. And I'm super excited. Like I said, I love this. Please, by all means, I would also love just more questions. I'll try to keep on scouring the Reddit threads, Twitter, things like, or X, I guess is what it's called. I'll scour everywhere, y'all. I'll post on my Instagram story. I'll do whatever I can to get more questions because I think this is also fun as well. Some of these questions are insane and it just cracks me up, but it also allows me to continue to deepen my faith because I'm spending the time reading the word in the scriptures and doing my best to answer and approach questions in a way that is honorable unto God and shows that I am living out my faith with fear and trembling, as the word says. So I love y'all with the love of the Lord, and I will see y'all in my next video. Come back for another episode of Backseat Bible. Bye.